Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to The Artist Prepares. I am your host, Mr. J the Actor. My next guest coming to the stage is from Durham, North Carolina. That's right, y'all, talking about the Bull City. He's an actor, theater educator, dancer, and choreographer whose works were featured at the National Black Theater Festival, American Dance Festivals, and various colleges. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for Professor Sheldon Mba.
Hello. I'm so happy to be here.
Professor Mba. What's going on? How you?
And doing good, prepping for the upcoming year. A lot of prep work that I'm doing right now. But outside of that, I'm still trying to be creative, still trying to find new things to like ignite the energies in my brain and in my heart. So
I feel you. I feel you. Man, I'm so excited to have you here today, man. A fellow Eagle, someone I know personally. And man, we're gonna have some fun. I hope you are ready. Because it's gonna be fun.
oh, I'm ready. I'm ready.
So, man, we're actors. And in order for an actor to really get started, we got to get warmed up. We can't really get into our thing until we get warmed up. So, to get us started, man, I got a few rapid fire questions for you just to get everything straight.
Okay.
All right. So, first, I have four set of words. We're going to play a little bit of word association.
Ooh.
So, soon as I give you a word, just give me the first thing that comes to mind when you hear these words. All
Okay.
right. So your first word is melodrama. First thing that comes to mind.
Oh wow. Black comedies.
I like it. I like it. Next word, Shakespeare.
Othello. Whoa.
Oh, I like it. Like it. Dedication.
Mm. Viola Davis.
Professional.
Mm. Consistency.
Ooh, dropping the words, boy.
Bow.
So you are a multi-talented artist. You sing too, right?
I hold notes in a bucket very well nowadays.
You sing, y'all. You dance, you act, and you also teach. What do you prefer more?
Wow. I That's changed so much, and I don't know where I'm at right now because
Okay.
as kind of performance has been on hold with with everything going on.
Right.
Um, I've been finding a lot more solace and fulfillment with education
Mm.
at the moment, but I do like to say I I like to perform a lot more, and more towards anything that has to do with like any straight dramas, which is like ironic because I teach music theater.
Yeah.
But I love my straight plays.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I like it. You're a dancer as well. So if you had the chance to perform with any professional dancer, and they can be dead or alive, whoever you want, this is your show. Who would it be?
Ooh, I hope I don't say the name wrong at the end, but Anthony Burrell, he's danced with Alvin Ailey. He has his own dance company and dance studio in Atlanta, Georgia. He's danced with like a lot of well-known pop icons like Beyonce, Mariah Carey. But
Okay.
the dude is like extremely like versatile in everything that he does in terms of choreography and what he can present like with his performance. And um in undergrad and even now, that's he's one of my biggest like icons, that one of the biggest artists that I look up to in terms of like, oh, what is he doing now, what is he up to.
Nice, nice.
Yeah.
So, other than your family members, name someone who's had a big influence on your art.
Hmm.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Uh huh.
Yeah. Yeah. A couple of people are coming to mind.
Okay, let's hear.
um and this is like, the first person that popped in my head was Chadwick. um, because of the like we saw him when he played James Brown, and we saw him when he did Babe Ruth, and but when he donned like the Black Panther suit, for me it was I never imagined myself like as a superhero ever
Wow.
until that moment, and that's just like and not to be like tokenized as like the black superhero or something like that. That was him stepping into that and taking it seriously, and making him as human and as real as possible. Really just inspired me of like, wow, so I really can just do anything that I put my mind to. And I was like, oh yeah, oh yeah. Other people that come to mind are Dr. Shabby. uh, um, she that is one hard woman to please, and
So
I think, and I, and I thank her for that, because it kept making me want to push harder and strive for more. So she never let anybody rest on their laurels, and I appreciate that a lot. Um, and then um, and then my best friend, she's a director, and we've worked on 3 or 4 projects together. And every time we work, it's like there is like I feel myself elevate in my approach to the craft. You
better.
know,
Okay. Okay.
yeah.
I like it. I like dope, man. So next, favorite musical. Dun dun dun.
Done, done. Ah!
Music teacher.
I know, right? Um, I think I'm leaning towards theory of relativity.
Mhm.
Um, if not theory of relativity, this is my just opinion, as simple as it may be, because it's popular. Just because it's popular doesn't mean that it's any less like, it doesn't have any less quality. But like Dreamgirls will forever and always hold a special place in my heart.
Okay.
The music, like the seamless transition for me from like how the dreams and how the music starts at the beginning of the show and then how it ends at the show. It seems almost flawless and so reflective of the human condition of change.
Mm.
That's like the professional, like if I was writing a thesis, I'd put that in there. But in other words, I'm just like, I like the songs, they're a bop.
Yeah,
So
so you talked about Dreamgirls, right? So
Mhm.
let's continue with dreams, right? We
Okay.
as artists always have, these big grand dreams of things. If I had this, I would do this. What would be your dream project if you can create any project that you wanted? Money's not an option, budget, you can do whatever, you can get anybody. What would be the project that you would create?
Ooh, oh gosh, no limit. Oh gosh, no boundaries.
Oh,
Oh my. Oh my gosh. I I honestly would ah I don't know. I usually do good with boxes and limitations sometimes.
no limit?
Uh,
What?
like, cause like that way I know it's like, oh, I'm gonna go outside the box because they said I couldn't do that. So this one's kind of difficult. I I would have to say that if budget wasn't an option, if money, if there's nothing standing in the way,
Alright,
um, I literally would love to like when I say collect like the fan bam, like gather all of the fan bam and like make my own type of like theater company and just produce shows with those people, because I just like, like working with you and then working with people from NCCU, and then in grad school in Mississippi, I've come in contact with so many people that I just want them all to know each other and all to work together, that I think I would try to find a way to set up a place and a space for that to happen, and pay them the money they owe that they deserve. Yeah, I think that's it. Sorry, it's not as like
no,
it,
that's what do you mean? That's huge because think about it, you're giving other people opportunities, but also you're allowing creative people that you know from different times in your life to come together.
Yeah.
And that's like when you have two friends like that at different times. Like your high
Mhm.
school friend versus your college friend is like completely different. But you would love in a perfect world for them to be like, hey, I like you and you're like you, you're dope. Hey, like each other. Like
Right.
that's the
Yeah.
perfect world that you want. So I love that answer, man. It just shows where your heart and mind is. So I like it.
Cool.
So for your last one, tell us a critique or criticism that you received that you just didn't agree with. Because I know we get so much as artists, but
Yeah.
it was, a couple or one that you had that you were like, yeah, no.
This one probably it might be a common one among artists of color and specifically black men is that I've received feedback um on like it's more like when I get notes that aren't phrased correctly.
Okay.
Yeah, and I have to do too much like filtering of like what are you really trying to say?
Mm,
Those are the notes that I think really like bog me down because I'd like for people just to be direct with like what's missing. And sometimes they like to like drop a little nugget and then let you think on it. But then it's like sometimes the nugget they dropped is like it's rotten and I can't do anything with that nugget. So I think when I've done some monologues that needed levels,
right.
like I think we've all been in situations like that before, and things kind of have come across one note to some people, while to others not.
Mhm.
I've received feedback like, yeah, I love when you do those mad monologues or those angry monologues or things like that. Or like, oh, wow, I really felt like you were going to kill somebody. Yeah. And it's just like, I was like, so did the words that I said mean absolutely like nothing? and and it's like I don't know how to take feedback like that, except of like, thank you. That wasn't the point. And
What,
then it makes me second guess
what am I doing?
uh, yeah, like what am I doing that's like making this person like receive this story? But you know, yeah, and it's a good note to get, but at the same time, it's not really a no
Right.
at the same time. And it's weird. I've gotten that a couple of times.
Man,
But yeah,
man,
just like okay, yeah.
hey, can you do some of those bad monologues for? I mean,
Yeah,
I was
I got a couple right here.
like, you're gonna be like, oh, mad monologues. I have a couple. Hold on, I got. I mean, how mad are we talking about? Little mad, big mad, like.
Explosive, like, tell me where.
That's great. I appreciate you sharing that. So now that we got everything started, man, I got a little quick bio that I found on you. And, who's going to tell the people about you?
Okay.
Sheldon Mba, or I should say, Professor Mba, is a native of Durham, North Carolina, Bull City. Didn't know you were from Bull City,
Yeah, yeah.
where he received his Bachelor of Arts in Theater and Dance Performance from the North Carolina Central University. Imba holds a Master of Fine Arts. Let me go back. Imba holds a Master of Fine Arts, MFA, in theater performance from the University of Southern Mississippi. He's performing roles brilliantly in a wide range, such as Citizen Barlow, August Wilson, Guy Jacobs, also Fish from the Royal, and Agamemnon. Oh, I remember that. Wow, taking it back. Uh, his choreographic works were featured at the National Black Theater Festival, American Dance Festivals, various college, and throughout the Durham, North Carolina area. Mba is a rising educator in the profession. He has used his movement background combined with his theatrical training to groom actors to become confident with their bodies. Imba is currently an assistant professor at music, theater, and dance at Friends University. Professor Imba, everybody. So, I mean, let's just get into it, man. Let us know first, how do you and I know each other?
We met, was it 2013 or 2000?
I think it was
Yeah,
2013. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, 2013. And you know how Dr. Shabi, she starts to assemble her troops. And we were getting ready for like the mashup of for colored girls and for colored boys
Yep, for
at
Black
the
Boy.
National Black Theater Festival.
Yep, yep.
And there and I know she needed two dancers to replace the two dancers that were in the original version of it that they did a while back. So she called on me and then my good friend at the time, Stacy,
Yes.
and we did the dang thing. So
So,
and it was I'm trying to think everyone who was there. I know Mariah Kaylin, Steven,
Jay
Tony.
was in the original. No, she was in it, was she?
Yeah,
Jessica?
didn't
Yeah,
she? Because
Jessica
he
was
stepped
in
in as
it. Yeah,
Jello.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we had Dartez,
Mhm.
Green, Ron Lee,
Mhm.
Stephen Barrington.
Mhm.
Yeah. So yeah, it was a dope show. It was a
Yeah.
I remember meeting you and I'm like, who is this guy? Oh, he's a freshman. I remember just always messing with you. He used to look so confused, like, I don't get why you messing with me, but okay, whatever. He used to always look so confused, like, I don't get it. Like, is this like a bully thing or like I'm just like, nah, I've been here and I feel like you're a freshman. Yeah, I'm just gonna mess with you. And I will always just try to throw you off and you will always just look like, I don't I don't get why you mess with me.
I don't understand.
Uh, but no, man, I just remember seeing someone who was so passionate about dance. Like you took like dance was your thing. Like if someone said something about dance, you'd be like, who said something about dance? Like you were so ready to like defend. And I thought it was funny, but it was dope because that's how I feel about acting. And to see someone that was so I had never met someone who was that passionate, like everything was, no, I gotta practice these moves. And after we did rehearsal, I would see you on the side practicing. And you come early and you're practicing. You would be other days and you would just always be practicing, like, no, I have to get it right. And I could see if you messed up, like in your head, you like, "Ah, I know this dance. What am I doing?"
Mhm.
But I saw the dedication, the focus that you had, that you just like it has to be perfect. Like there's no, I know you guys think that is great, but that is not even my best work. And so I appreciate that. But I try to shake it up a little bit. Keep you honest on your toes, man, because
Right.
I don't want to just let you get it. You're a freshman. You gotta earn it. So I enjoyed just messing with you. But yeah, you stay on your game, always ready. I always try to throw you off, but you were ready. You were ready for a challenge. So take us through, Sheldon. What does it mean to you, man, just to be an artist?
Oh man, the opportunity and the strength to, share your story through what you do.
Mm,
And because oftentimes I think and that's why I think there's a difference between people who are like, performers, entertainers, and beside people who are artists.
okay.
Um, because there's a couple of levels. This is all like my perspective, my theory, how I approach it.
It's your world. We just living in it right now. We watching your show. I'm just an audience member right now, but go ahead.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful. That I feel like there are people that like, oh yeah, great. I can sing, great. I can say this monologue, make it sound beautiful. I can do all these steps. But if there's not anything that's connected behind it, I feel like it's just for show. And it's just because, oh, this is a nice, pretty picture. This is a nice, pretty sound. But I think as we start to approach our work as like artists, as like, okay, how do I connect to this? And what story do I want to tell? And not just show off what I can do.
Mhm.
Um, I think um, starting off as like a dancer, it was kind of like I need to be able to do everything. I need to do all these steps, all of these moves. But it took me a while to actually grasp the understanding of like storytelling and getting a narrative across to somebody else. And and there are moments that it's like people do great work and it still touches people. But I think the moment that you become aware of your connection to the work
Mhm.
as you're working through the process, whether you're singing, acting, or dancing, I think the more potent and more powerful the work becomes at that moment.
Mm, okay. And I didn't even have this as a question, but you said something that really kind of made me say, Do you find, as it relates to just the word artist, you find that it's like because I know for me, I never considered myself like say I was an artist until later on in my career. Like, oh, I'm an artist now because I felt like it encompassed more than just one aspect of it. Do you feel that same way that like once you like saying artist means like not just I'm not limited to just one thing, that it opens you up to other things. Do you agree with that or
I think so. I think so because it's something that like I may say it like I've been saying it all my life, but I have not. This is like a recent development, like maybe 3 years in the making. But no, I think when you do say artist, that means you're working on or you already embraced like um your creative your creative side in terms of you can come in contact with a myriad of different types of projects
Mm,
and find your way to create something or to tell a story through that.
mm,
And I think the moment we start to, and this might get into like my education philosophy or whatever, but
mm,
the moment we start to put ourselves in a box of like this is the only thing that I can do, and this goes even past people who are just like performers, but
yeah,
this is anything. When you put yourself in a box and say that this is the only thing that you can do, that is the only thing that you will ever be able to do,
mm,
and you will never know all of the other things that you can actually like excel at. I never would have considered myself an actor or considered myself a note and a bucket holder had I not explored that, had I not taken that avenue, that chance to say, hey, um, I can do this. Let me try my hand at this. Let me try my hand at that. So
right.
I do think artist does encompass a lot more than just like that one specific thing, because I feel like I can trust somebody who calls himself an artist to have a vision,
Mm.
and to have a purpose for their craft and what they do.
I get yeah, I never was a person that saw that earlier, like, I'm an artist.
Mm,
During my days at NCCU, everyone know I was an actor. Like, that's why they call me Jay the actor, and it
mhm,
wasn't that I was saying I was the greatest actor, it was just saying, "Jay, the one who acts," because that's what
mhm,
I do, and I was firm on making sure everyone knew he's an actor. He acts, this is what he does, and
mhm,
it took, people saying that to me like, "You're an artist," and I'm like, I had this, I guess I had this vision of like, no, when you're an artist, it's a different level or you're different this. I didn't understand, I guess, understand that to the whole magnitude of like, no, it means like you're someone who's really creating, right? Versus
mhm,
just saying you're an actor because you don't just act, you can create, I can write, I can produce, direct.
mhm.
I can't sing. Gosh, I don't know how that dismissed me. Everything in the world hit me except for that. I guess God wanted to keep me humble, but
He finds ways to do it, I promise you. Yeah.
but yeah, I thought it was interesting to hear someone say artist, and I was like, I don't get it. But like you said, and last I say for me, maybe 7 to 10 years, I was like, yeah, I guess I am an artist. But it's just, I guess, something, when you're so focused on one thing, and it took for me to be open, like you said, to other opportunities. I would have never thought in a million years I would teach. I'm JD Actor. I'm not teaching. No, I don't want to do it. I would say to anyone, no, I don't want to. If it's not acting, don't call me. I don't care what it is. As if I don't, whatever. I don't care if it's art. What? Nope. Is it acting? Nope. Don't want to do it. And people will tell you like, "Dog, I know you can do it," but I'm like, "Nah, I wanna act."
Mhm.
So, it took for me to step out to say, "Okay, let me open up this door." But I had to realize that acting was the umbrella and everything else was under that umbrella. And
Yeah.
then I was like, "Oh, every opportunity I have that's coming that's not acting is really acting. It's all a byproduct of that." So
Yeah.
and so that was, the thing that kinda got it for me, but it's about you, my bad. I stepped down.
Yeah, no, no, you're good. I mean, you made a good point talking about the umbrella and things being a byproduct of it, because um, it a little bit. So I started how the acting bug bit me was like in middle school. I won some type of free acting modeling class at. I'll leave the organization out because it's a scam. I don't want to. I don't want nobody coming for me. Yeah, but I got a free acting class there, and I was like, "Oh, this is fun. This is great. This is great." So, I ended up going to Githens Middle School in Durham, where like another NCC alumni, Miss Denise Barnes, where she teaches, or where
Wow.
she taught, and I started doing theater there for seventh and eighth grade. Then I transferred to another high school that didn't have a theater program, but they had a marching band. And then I transferred to Hillside, where Mr. Tab, the Tab is.
You were
Uh,
you were Hillside? Oh,
yeah,
you so oh, you should have been. I didn't know that. I would just.
yeah,
I'm like, hey, this dude is just so okay. Hillside is the mecca that when it comes to high schools. But go ahead, go ahead.
yeah, yeah, and and when I got to Hillside, I started telling myself, it's like, look, I want to be able to book any and everything, because at this age, it's like, I want to be, I want to be a star. I want people to say, can you do this? I want to say yes. So I ended up taking like my first like official like dance class there at Hillside. And then at that point, the dance bug bit me. And I found the oddest ways to like I wiggled my way into dance company that semester. I just stuck around the studio. I just never left. And no one told me to go home, so I didn't go home. um but in other words, I'm saying that like I went in there thinking I want to just be an actor, and then I got bit by the dance bug, and then Hillside will use everything that you can do.
Mhm.
So they had me choreograph, they had me dance, they gave me some acting opportunities, and then I went to Central, and I started off as like uh, how you lie to yourself of like, I'm gonna do this nice professional degree. I'm gonna go into dance therapy, you know? Which is like, I appreciate dance therapists, but it was just not for me because when you start to pay attention to where you find yourself majority of the time, I was always in the theater, always in the studio. I was not digging into anatomy books. I wasn't digging into psychology books or anything like that.
Right, right.
But I digress a little bit, but I say all that to say is that like under the umbrella of like I guess what I would assume was like acting, it's like I started to find other things that I
Mm,
had niches for, which was like dancing and choreography and at some moments directing, and then at some moments critiquing, and then teaching and educating. And I think the moment we do limit ourselves to like I'm just going to do just acting stuff, that's all I want to do and focus on,
mhm.
we end up missing out on so much. Because I can tell you that my dance training has made my acting training like so much more applicable to like my growth as an artist,
Mm.
or like how I approach my script work, my script analysis work to when I'm dancing. It's like it gives me a little bit more of a stronger stage presence and a purpose on stage. And when it comes to holding my notes in buckets, um, it gives me like a lot more confidence because teaching music theater, the biggest thing that I'm realizing is that a lot of people don't act while they're singing. And that's one thing that I can say is like, look, you give me a song, it might be pitchy, but you're gonna know what I'm fighting for.
Right, right.
So I say all that to say that everything's so interchangeable
Yeah.
when you're an artist. Everything's so interchangeable when you allow yourself to branch out into other things and see how that influences you and your craft and what it is that you specifically want to do.
Right. As though I didn't know for you it started off with the theater first and then went into I thought it was the other way around. I thought you were all in the dance and then you were like, you know what, I'm gonna try acting because you were so much into acting. I mean, to dance. And I was like, oh, okay. I thought that was the first thing for you. But what was it about dance that made you feel like this is it for me? Because everyone finds that moment where it's like,
Mhm.
hmm, this is really nope, I'm gonna do this.
Yeah.
What was it about dance that gave you that feeling?
Wow. This is good. I
You're
would,
prepared, baby.
yeah, I love it. I love it. I would have to say that it it lies in what kind of learner I am.
Okay.
How the best way that I learn, I'm a kinesthetic learner. Anything that involves like I can like touch, I can feel, I get my body into it. That's what I connect to. That's what I connect to the most. And I think it also goes back into I had something to prove to myself and to others. And it because growing up, I didn't have a sense of rhythm. And at moments the it comes back every now and then. Because even in church, my mom would have to hold my hands and clap with me on beat. Yeah, and the opportunity to like fix that, and the opportunity to prove people like wrong in a sense, because I've worked really hard on where I've come from, because none of it came natural to me. Like sure, the facility, because I did sports, it's like yeah, I got jumps, I did track, okay, yeah, I'm flexible, but there's a lot more that goes into it, you know. Yeah, I don't know if I'm answering your question at all. But I want to say that what really connected to me and said that this is what I'm going to do is that um, after having a teacher that was patient with me
Mm,
for like I think 6 months, that first like semester I had at Hillside, she was really patient with me, and all of the opportunities that she gave me, and the accolades of like most improved like within 5 to 6 months, um, that really like dropped the idea in my head of like, oh, so I could really do this, because I'm like, 16, 17 at this time. And, I don't think I'm outdoing anybody that's been dancing all their life, but there's something different about how I'm moving compared to them. So
right.
it's not too late for me,
Okay.
and I think with all of that in my head, it's just like, that's where I've always just been placed. And that's where I've always just been put. And it's like, I was okay being there.
Right.
It wasn't like forced or anything. So like, I hope that answers the question kind of.
It's your answer. What you mean? Again, I'm just in the audience, sir. This is your
You're
show.
right.
I'm just in
You're right. You're right. That's my answer then.
the So, man, how do you find so when I think about dancing, right, and how I began to learn it at NCCU, just I look at it like, okay, when I got to NCCU and there was time for a musical, none of
Mhm.
the theater majors were in it because they all took the people who were music majors because they could sing. They
Yeah.
couldn't act, but they could sing. You know,
Yeah.
I had a little beef with that, but I couldn't sing, so I was hating a little bit. But
Hmm.
then you had the dancers, right? And people were dance. And I remember not getting dance at first. Like, I don't get it. And it wasn't that I didn't think it was a creative art form or expressive. I just didn't like the people that were doing it in the sense of I didn't see the same passion I would see for someone singing and acting. I didn't see that same thing for dance. To me, it was always, oh, I'm gonna do this basic dance, blah, blah, blah. It wasn't until I really got to NCCU and saw people like passionate about it. Like they're pretty much feel like everything, they're at the end of their dance, they're like, because they didn't do everything on the stage. And I was like, okay, now that makes sense. But you go to church and you see, mime ministry and dance ministry, and they give it a halfway. But I guess that's just the kind of perfectionist in me and the
Hmm.
artist that I was just kind of like, I don't get it. So, but how do you? Because when I saw you dancing, even in for Color Girls, like it was like you were trying to tell a story through dance. And I
Hmm.
thought that was very like wow. Because I remember when I was in CCU, I had Bubba Chuck, and Bubba
Hmm.
Chuck was teaching, dance, and we had a beef because I'm like, I don't get what you're trying to say. Like I'm trying to act, and I don't see how this helps me. But he was able to show me if you can understand this and utilize these tools, you'll be a better actor. You'll know how to move on stage. You'll know how to work with someone else. So how do you? I guess my very long question is, how do you take your dance and put that passion to get people to really see that story? Because I've seen people dance all the time and don't get anything. Like, I didn't get it. The same way
Hmm.
you look at an actor and be like, yeah, he didn't have any passion behind that.
Yeah, I think it always starts with uh I think I found a good way to explain this to myself. It's almost like the same way to how I approach my when I'm acting, is that you don't ever want to there's a difference between like throwing yourself away and then using what you have to actually impact the work that you're doing. Because there's a lot of times as artists we're told, or like people who sometimes think they know about acting, like, okay, you have to forget everything about yourself and think about this character,
Right.
and like that's it, that's all you have to do. And I'm like, okay, but I'm still Sheldon, even though, like, I mean, I may be in a wig, or I'm still Sheldon, even though I'm wearing clothes from like the 1920s. It's like I can't get rid of that. I cannot get rid of that aspect. And I think the more that sometimes performers try to eliminate themselves from the work that they do, the
Mm,
more disconnect is actually created in the work that they present. So with my dance work, it's like I never want it to be anybody else but me. I never want it to be anybody else but me. And as I would work, this is before like character development or anything like that. In dance, it's a little bit more free form,
mhm,
that I really just allowed whatever the lyrics or the music to impact, like, this sounds so weird, impact like my psyche,
mhm.
and have a reaction there, which kind of trickled down to have a reaction physically. And then that kind of got transferred out into the audience, because it is more than just like, beautiful movement, but there is something else that's like driving force behind it.
Mm, I like it. I like it. So again, you have all these different talents, and you act, you sing, you dance. Now you're teaching. At what point in your journey with your arts were you like, okay, I have to take this serious. I have to really do this professionally, and because everyone has their different moments. When was your moment where you're like, yeah, this is what I want to do. I have to do this.
Wow. You know how sometimes you think you've had that moment, but then you really haven't? It had to have been oh my, the most humbling summer of my life. My first time at the American Dance Festival in 2014.
Wow.
Um, I tell you, one thing I love about NCCU is that it is a community,
Mhm,
but then also at the same time, it's like we're in a little box, or our own little circle sometimes.
mhm.
So we only see what's around us.
Right.
I went to ADF summer 2014. I was never full of it. I was never egotistical, but I was confident.
Right.
I tell you, after auditions that summer, my confidence was like, I don't know diddly squat about dance at all, because we got these people who are just like a couple states over, or coming out of the country, coming in, and I'm just like, how did you what are you how are you doing that? Like, what? And that was when it was like, wow, there is so much that I have just scratched the surface
Mm,
of like dance. And I've only been at this, and at this point, this was like year 3 for me
okay.
involved in dance. And I was like, okay, I really gotta, like, this is it. Like, I gotta just push through, sore, tired, whatever. I gotta make it happen. And it was after that moment that I realized, wow, I came back in the fall with a whole new perspective of like, okay, so it's not just about like uh raw emotion, and it's not just about how high I can get my leg, or how big my jumps can be.
Right.
There's even more artistry available that I have access to, that
Wow.
I can use through my body.
Ooh.
And at that moment, I felt like literally like untouchable, because my mind had opened up to a different perspective on dance,
Mm.
like a more worldly perspective, and not so much a community perspective of like, yeah, I'm the hot stuff right here, but like you put me in like the pond where New York or anybody else is, it's like I'm my little fish might just drown or get eaten up by one of the big fishes. I don't know. So
I like it, man. So you talked about going to NCCU. Why did you go to NCCU? Like you were already from Durham, it was in Durham. A lot of times people think college like I got to get out, got to get away from where I know. So what made you go to NCCU?
oh, I wanted to get out. I wanted to get out. So, long story short, so I was 2012. Um, I was looking at North Carolina School of the Arts, of course, but
Mhm.
I was also I can't think of the university's name, but it was in Charlotte. I got accepted, and they had offered me scholarship money, and I was like, "Great, wonderful, that's where I want to go." It's not Durham. It's a different location. But I had gotten sick with my rare blood disorder called aplastic anemia with PNH, which basically means the cells that my body produces destroy each other, and then I don't produce enough of the cells that I do need, like the red blood cells, white blood cells, and platelets and stuff. So with that in mind, I had to be really close to home because it was a really tough year. The decline in my health started in, I'll say, February, and it got to the point that I could barely even like walk or move without having to like sit down and take a break. Like I couldn't shower standing up without having to take a sit, without having to sit down. And I'm like 17 at the time. I'm like, oh, I'm just out of shape. And I'm just like, oh, I'm just out of shape. I need to eat more greens, drink more water. I need to work even harder. You know, Lo and behold, there was something that I couldn't even control happening to my body. Um, so yeah, so I ended up going to NCCU so I could be close to home, and it was a sense of security
Mm.
at the time. Um, but I was happy that the first semester that I wasn't in school, that Dr. Ashabi still let me perform in The Color Purple. Yeah, and like I didn't know community members could participate in college shows. I was just like, okay, I don't want people thinking that I'm like, a bum or, somebody that's never gonna be in school or anything like that, that mindset. Yeah, but after working with on the color purple and being around those people, um, like I mean, the heavy hitters, like like with Tempest was there, Cam was there,
Mhm.
Kaylin, Dartez and Chase, of course. And
Mhm.
I'm just like, I'm watching these people on stage, and I'm like, this is just wonderful. This is just wow, my God, my God, my God. So yeah, so that kind of like solidified my choice because it was convenient. I had applied already, and I just deferred enrollment, and it turned out to be like the best decision I think of my life for undergrad.
Wow. So talk to us about some of those acting experiences that you had at NCCU, because you named some of the heavy hitters and everything that was going on. I've seen your pictures on the wall at NCCU Wall of Fame. So talk to
Yeah.
us about some of those experiences.
Oh wow. I look back, and when you know better and you know more, I'm just like Dr. Shabi was I need to give her more credit for being patient. Because oh snap, we did the misanthrope together.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We did the misanthrope together. Um, there were like that one was a staple show for me in my brain because that that was a fun one. That was like the first time I got to act uh on the stage and not just dance. And
Yeah.
I think and Kendrick was the other person. We're all trying to go after Deja to like win her love and whatnot. I'm trying to think what was like the iconic role for me that was a lot of fun. I think it had to be Reggie from Aquila and the Bee.
Mm.
Yeah, it had to be Reggie because I think at that moment, I will tell you there were a lot of times coming from a stronger dance background training than an acting training. Um, there were moments that I felt inadequate in so many ways compared to a lot of other people,
Mhm.
in terms of the kinds of roles they would get and in terms of the roles I would get. And it kind of started when I would look at the musicals, and it's like, I know I'm not the best singer, but like I can do more than just two lines, right? I'm better than that, right? I don't always have to be in the ensemble, right?
That was
You
good.
know,
ensemble.
Yeah, I'm just like, and I'm not knocking the ensemble at all because now it's like, look, put me in there. It's like I'll hold it down. I got you. But it was like it wasn't a sense of jealousy. It was a sense of like, dang, okay. My best friend at the time, Jonathan, he's over here getting all these lead roles.
Mhm.
Deja's getting all these lead roles. Davita is not even a major coming in getting all of these lead roles. And I'm like, my moment's gonna come, my moment's gonna come. Um, but that's when I started to look at that I was doing art for the wrong reasons.
Ooh.
And it was a moment of like, it's not so much about like I wanted a shot to prove that I could do this,
Mhm.
you know? Um, and and I was looking for one thing while, God through Dr. Shabi was giving me like everything that I needed as like confirmation. Cause when we traveled to Italy to do the Miseducation of Hip Hop,
Mhm.
that was a thing. She wouldn't bring anybody on board with her to go across the seas who wasn't competent enough to, learn lines, do a character and things of that nature. So I think after I got past the comparison game,
Okay.
and understanding that my castability as an actor is going to be different for everybody compared to everybody else and compared to how people see me,
Mhm.
um, that's when I started to realize that I can still take the stuff that I'm learning in the classroom and apply that to so many different things. Because I think I found that I had a knack for classical text,
Mhm.
like with Greek and Shakespeare, through Shabi's classical acting course. I have a knack for good memory, because in acting three, we you have the option of doing 12 monologues or like a showcase, and I opted for the 12 monologues, and
Fun.
and
That's
I did all of that, and so yeah, and I think I lost track of the question trying to answer it.
we just talking about your experiences, man. That's cool.
Okay, great. Yeah, and just once I came to terms with like what I was good at and on what I could do, the more confidence I kind of found in myself. Because like we all know about KCACTF, like the acting competitions and stuff not for the region. Man, it's a tough thing to go twice and to see your friends make it to the semifinals and finals multiple times, and you can't get past the first round. It was when I tell you like it was a lot of humbling experiences for me. Not that I thought I was the best or I deserved it. It was just again I was looking for that shot and looking for that approval in so many different ways
Yeah, yeah.
and in so many different forms. Um, it wasn't until uh, grad school that I finally realized that it's like, oh, so I really can do this.
Yeah.
And like I look back on all of the roles and stuff that I've played, all of the positions I've held in theater. It, I even like throughout getting into grad school, like to say that I was good at what I did. It took playing Guy Jacobs in Blues for an Alabama Sky, because that was the first time that I was ever like a lead in like a show. Like when I say having majority of the lines, like this dude is talking on every single page. And I was like, as I got through the process, I was like, is this what they had to do? Like all of my friends had to do all the time. This is a lot of work. And but I did it and I was extremely proud of myself for the work that I did.
Yeah.
And my professors were proud of the work that I did. And that's when I realized that it's like this is great because I've stretched a lot of muscles as an actor in terms of being able to be ensemble, sidekick, principal role, ensemble, et cetera, and it's made my arsenal that much more diverse in
Yeah.
terms of castability. Because when I look back on my route on my track, it's like you can put me anywhere and I can fit.
That's
And and that's something that I pride myself on. It's like literally plug me in anywhere and I will make it work and I will make it happen.
No, Sheldon. Don't even matter. Let's go. Tell him, Sheldon.
Let's go, let's go.
So talk to us. Tell me this, man. What do you think the NCCU taught you about acting? Because
Mm.
I feel every person that I know that came from the theater department speaks in high regards of what Central was able to offer us. What do you think that it taught you about acting?
I've said this I said this earlier, but to connect it, storytelling, and the importance of connecting and the importance of focus,
Right.
and more so anything, the importance of hard work. Um, that no one's gonna hand you anything. You show like of course there are like certain casting demands that just have to get met, but no one's going to hand you anything.
Yeah.
um I remember countless times of Dr. Shabi going through story time in like these in these acting classes that we would have, and through that I started to connect the dots of, okay, so there's something more than just saying lines passionately. There's something more than that, and I tell you that, like, till this day, Central has prepared me for auditioning for the rest of my life.
Come on.
I tell you to this day because um the training that we get there on how to present ourselves and present our work,
Yes.
it's like it's gonna get us through the door every single time. um, Trusting the process, and also I think the biggest thing Dr. Shabi has said is that you're the actor. I'm the director. It's like we'll collab, we'll come together from time to time, but it's like your process is your process.
Right.
You know, I'm not going to intercede with yours. You're not going to intercede with mine, but we're going to work together. Those aren't her exact words, but that's how I've like grown to understand it. And before I used to think it's like, oh, we have too much freedom. This is too much. But it's like it develops such a clear process of like commitment and choice making.
Mm.
Because if you didn't get any notes from Dr. Ashabi, you were coasting. You were doing good. Just lay low. If she had some notes for you, it's like, all right, go back to the drawing board. But it's like the process is never done. The work is never done. That's why I appreciated like getting notes even as the show was running.
Yeah.
It's like, we need to be aware of like, okay, what else needs to happen so we can get even better and even stronger with our performance. Man, shoot. Yeah. It's like if I could go back with like the mentality that I have now, oh, I'd like soak it all up even more. But I mean, it's a solid foundation, I think,
Yeah.
in terms of like keeping people connected, commitment, choice making, and just knowing that this is work.
Yeah.
This is work.
And it also gave you the opportunity to do whatever it is you wanted to do within theater.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
and not a lot of programs will give you that opportunity. It's like, okay, you're just gonna stick here. But
mhm,
NCCU will give you the opportunity to do whatever it is you wanted to do. It was almost like, okay, so what do you want to do? Well, I
yeah.
want to do this. Okay, so what's the problem? Well, you waiting on. Okay, we'll go. It was like almost it was a challenge to see like what is it that you really want? Like,
Mhm,
don't take away all the excuses.
right.
Think deep down, what is it that you want to do? And why
Mm,
aren't you doing it?
yep.
Like, they just look at you like, oh, okay.
Yep. And it's like it's the easiest, and like, and not that there's no competition and this doesn't affect the quality of the work,
Mhm.
but it is so easy to get up on that stage. They want you to experience this.
Yes.
They want you to experience every aspect of theater to figure out where you fit.
Yeah.
And they give you countless opportunities. And because I was like, I have no business in nobody's tech booth. But, Reese had me running lights for dance concerts and shows and scenes. And it's something that it's so weird that's prepared me to go into like directing because I now have that language and that that sensibility to share with them.
Yep.
So it's like I'm telling you, the training that you just get there, it's just like wherever you want to go and focus in, you have the foundation or the platform to make it happen.
Yes, sir. So hold on, before we go, we gotta NCCU, baby. We love y'all. This is Eagles amplified, baby. But yeah, so you go to NCCU, get all this experience, and then you decide to go get a master's degree. What was the motivation behind that? Because usually people be like, I ain't going back to school. What was your motivation for saying, nah, I think I want more of this?
Um, whew. So biggest thing, I told myself I wanted my next move to be um something that I was passionate about
Hmm.
and something that provided financial security.
Ooh.
So that was and like and one thing that I'm learning when it comes to planning and asking, God and the universe for stuff, it's like you got to be specific like with what you really really want at that time.
Yeah.
Um Even in undergrad, I've always wanted to at some point be prepared for education.
Mm.
Be prepared to go into teaching.
Right,
Um
right.
because I wanted to be able to satisfy two sides that exist in every person, the dreamer and the realist. The dreamer in me wants to be like, I'm gonna go to New York, I'm gonna go to Atlanta, I'm gonna go to California, I'm gonna make it happen.
All right.
But then the realist in me is like, okay, but what kind of job are you going to try to have while you're doing all of that? Where's the money going to come from?
Mhm.
And it's not the realist being like a Debbie Downer, but it's like being realistic of like, okay, we can do this,
Oh, boy.
but you don't have to go about it the hard way.
Mm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I
So
got it.
I had to work to satisfy both of those things. And so it started off as went to SETC, Southeastern Theater Conference.
Hmm.
And I said, I'm going to audition for the professional stuff, and then I'm going to audition for grad schools and see what happens. Um, I get a couple of opportunities from the professional stuff, but it's only summer stuff. It's nothing consistent.
Hmm.
Um, but then the grad programs are like, you know what? Maybe this is the time to go to grad school. Because it's like I still get to perform. I get to learn a lot more.
Yep.
Um, and I think what really pushed me was working with Burning Coal Theater on the Royale in
Mhm.
2017 and working with like I think everybody in the Durham Raleigh area knows him or they need to know him. Phillip,
Okay.
Philip Smith, and like when I tell you that that man has been that's who I should have listed earlier too. Oh my gosh, has been like transformative to how I even approach like theater after getting a degree in it. And I just wanted to learn and soak up so much more information, if not from him, from somebody, from something.
Right.
So yeah, so I had ended up yeah, and I just said I'm gonna take the leap. I'm just gonna go for it. And it was two programs. One program was in New York, and the other program was in Mississippi. And it's like, oh, New York's calling. Oh, I gotta go.
Right, right.
But New York don't like to give out money. They, they like to call up everybody, but they're not gonna. And I tell you, so I ended up going to Mississippi, but only not because of the money, also because of the programming.
Mm.
Um, what New York had to offer me was basically the same Stanislavski training that that you get in any other theater program sometimes, and then New York. So that's all they had to offer me. The
Right.
only thing that was appealing was like, oh, I can take classes at the Ailey Studio. That's nice too. But Mississippi had everything that I could ever want as like an artist in
Mm.
terms of they had these many different types of acting styles that you could taste test and try and see how that goes. All of these different types of voice classes, all of these movement classes like stage combat, Lou Green, stepping into Laban, even a little bit of mask work. Like the variety in training was a lot more immense.
Yeah.
And the difference between Mississippi and New York is that New York, to me, my opinion, was looking for something that was already a product. And
Mm.
and I felt like they would have like used the product to like, okay, great, we have this person to do this, and this, and that's that. I don't know what would have happened if I went there, but I knew on paper and from the interviews that I had with Mississippi that I felt like they were more interested in the growth of the artists. And that's where the thought about, oh, I'm an artist kind of started to come into a little bit.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Cool. So talk to us about Skip the Script Improv Group.
Oh, wow. Okay. So,
Research.
freshman year in grad school, first year in grad school, I'm working with one of the third years, my colleagues. He was over the improv troupe
Mhm.
there for I think the last 2 years, and the program was fairly new, so it was something that we wanted to make sure that kept going and going and going. So I had auditioned and never really done improv before outside of that one time we had like an improv session, like during National Black Theater in like 2013. And um, I had a knack for it because I'm a yes and type of person.
Number one rule, baby.
I'm a like, even in a scene, like, you could do something ridiculous. I may cackle a little bit, but I'm gonna use it to get through the scene. So that's something that I felt came naturally to me. But halfway through my first year, I ended up having to take over the improv troupe.
Okay.
So like that was a daunting experience because it's like I just got here. I s- I'm still figuring out if like, after having like a couple of breakdowns over my first grad classes, it's like I don't even know if I still want to be here after this point. But no, the community at Southern Mississippi was really supportive and comforting, and knowing that the students involved, they knew that I was new and I was learning, but I was a quick learner and I was able to pick things up. Um, so like, yeah, they were really like supportive of like me taking charge in it, and they weren't. I wasn't there just high and dry.
Right.
We were all working together as like a community to make it work. But no, I had a good 3 years running the group. Um, yeah, a good 3 years. Each year we had like a different fun, cool name that we would call Skip the Script. Like the first year was like Knights of the Golden Light, and then the next year was something, and third year was something else. It was a lot of fun. I learned a lot about how to stay open
Yeah.
and receptive to things in a scene and not to anticipate or project anything.
Right.
And I think the students learn to kind of have fun and let loose because um, at some universities that have like very technique driven
Mhm.
courses, they can get so heady, and they can get so heady that they stop having fun, and um they stop breathing.
Technique, technique.
Yeah, technique. Say the lines. Stay on the rhythm. Are you hitting your punctuations? I'm like, just speak, and we'll figure it out as we work. Yeah. So.
So, what were some of the experiences that you had that were different because you got an undergrad in theater and then you went to get your MFA? So, what was the
Mhm.
kind of the learning? Because grad school is much different than undergrad, specifically in a
Yeah.
performance-driven atmosphere. Like it's much more intense. So tell us about that.
Yeah. Well, from an academic standpoint, there's a lot more reflection. Like they, my program really wanted us to understand process
Mm,
and how we process information and then how we regurgitate that information.
right.
And it's one thing I'm really thankful for is that they're not looking for a perfect product, they're looking for growth. Like, I am nobody's dialectician at all, but I know the steps and I know what I need to do to make it happen.
Right, right.
In terms of that, um, yeah, and there's a lot of writing.
And again, too much writing. I was like, I don't want to write a paper. I just want to act. Leave me alone.
I'm just here just to learn and grow. Yeah, but then there's also a lot more responsibility. Because as grad students, I was responsible for some of the undergrads. Um, and I always bite off way more than I can chew every single time.
Yeah,
And
it's an
you
artist.
know, right?
For me, give it all to me. I got it. Don't worry about
Yeah. So like I'm over here, I'm helping out. I'm over the improv troupe, the Harlem troupe, which is for the people of color.
it.
Um, and at the same time, I'm having to get ready to start teaching like theater appreciation and theater movement. So there's a lot more balancing that you have to do, and then stay on top of your academics and your schoolwork. Um, and then I look at the BFAs or the BAs that were in the program. I was like, "Ah, you guys are just so. You guys get to have variety in your life. It was theater 24/7."
Right.
And at some moments, like it's like I need a break from this. Like if grad school taught me anything, it's like I love this so much that I have to step away from it so I don't resent it.
Mm.
And that's when it comes into always having other interest and stuff to follow,
Yeah.
because as artists I feel like we spend a lot of time trying to prove people, oh, I can make this work, I can make this work, I can make this work, but it's like, you can still do other things. It doesn't mean you're cheating on your craft. If you go ride a bicycle or go read a book or something. um
I like.
but yeah, but a little more differences between grad and undergrad is I can say is that the grad students were used as like anchors in shows.
Mm.
Um we were not guaranteed a spot in a show, but it was like in terms of like casting,
Yeah.
it was like, okay, where are the grad students gonna go? BFAs, BAs, minors. And
Mm.
then they look at everything as a whole as to like what they can actually do.
Mm.
Um, there were a lot more opportunities to be considered for bigger roles in a sense because of the grad student title.
Yeah.
Um, but also like a lot more responsibility because you have 60 to 70 people looking at you
Oh wow.
of like, oh, you're the new grad student, or like, oh, so that's what the grad student's all about. Okay.
Oh, okay. Okay.
And it took a minute to like, I don't have to keep working to prove myself to people, and it's like after I did the illusion, and I'm so grateful to Jody who directed that, because I'm like, whoo, I mean, I have a process, but it's like I felt like I was just trying to like project and say, hey, I can act, I can do this, I'm here, I'm great, I'm awesome. So that took some transitioning to get used to, but um, but yeah, but I also think the biggest thing is that you start to reconsider what your role in theater or performance is going to be,
Right.
because you're not as starry eyed, as like as when you get in your bachelor sometimes. So there was a difference of like, okay, what aspect do I want to work in? And it's like I didn't want to go into education straight out of grad school.
Right.
I said, you know what, I want to perform. I want to perform. And it's one of those things of like you got to be honest with yourself.
Mhm.
You got to be honest with yourself. I tell people every time before you even think of applying to grad school, ask yourself, why do you want to go?
Right.
I want to go because I want to learn more.
Yeah.
I wanted to go because I wanted security in my job, like wherever I was. And also, I wanted to teach at some point, and I want that to already be in place when I'm ready to teach.
Right. So it's already set for you.
It's and it's already set. So that was something that I was really I'm a I'm a huge proponent on and pushing for people, because it's hard, and you have to be okay with your interest changing.
Right. Right.
Because I never would have thought that I'd be considered for like, professional Shakespeare shows, or like, because I didn't want to do Shakespeare at all. It's like that's not me. That's not me. But I think just grad school really just pushes you to try new things,
Right.
trust your process, and be open to change.
Yes.
Yeah.
I agree, definitely. So you talked about also about kind of being artists and having to prove like you're capable of doing things, right? So we know that no success comes without haters, doubters, naysayers, non-believers.
Mhm.
What's been your experience with that? Because there's always people that have opinions about what you should or shouldn't be doing as an artist.
Mm.
He said,
Mm. That's a good one. Um, First thing that comes to mind is that nobody nobody really knows what somebody else is supposed to be doing. That's what I think. And I think if you're not going to be of a support to what somebody is interested in,
"Mm,
you're more of a hindrance instead of a help. And because it's like you have to go for what it is that you love to do.
yep,
Because if you don't, you're gonna keep asking yourself, well, what if, or I should have, or could have, or maybe I would have if I did this, and you have to give your dreams an honest shot, like regardless of what people say about it,
mhm,
regardless what people say to you about it, because there's a lot of people who are in movies and making a lot of money and famous and even on Broadway that are not that good, not that strong as a performer, as an artist, but they stuck with it.
yes,
You know what I mean? And something about them as people,
mhm,
have made that happen. And I think the moment we start saying things that people can't do, it's counterproductive to, like, if you want that person to actually succeed. But I say giving your dreams an honest shot, because if you go for it, truly go for it without a plan B in mind,
mhm,
you're bound to end up doing what you're supposed to be doing.
yes,
That's what I believe. And that's what as like I look back on my life coming from like dance to like now I'm teaching like theater and whatnot. It's like, yeah, you follow what you love to do, it'll take you to what you're supposed to be doing. Because I say this, I'm in theater and dance and the arts right now. Shoot, 2 years later, I might be like, yo, Jay, I love real estate. Let me sell you this house. Like, I don't know, but if I keep trying to project what I should do in order to make me sound like I'm being productive, or to make it sound like I'm successful,
right.
like the more I'm going to actually hold myself back.
Mm, I like it. I like it. So now that you are you're a theater educator, you're a professor, Professor Mba to
Mhm.
be exactly. What is it now? Do you see different now that you're a teacher versus when you were a student as it relates to just your art of theater for it?
Yeah.
I got I got
Yeah. Oh yeah. It goes back to when I look back, there are moments that I I had to call. I think I called at least all of my professors at least maybe once or twice, and it's a lot of them. And I said, "Thank you for your patience with us," because it's just a whole new mindset.
right.
It's just a different mindset adjusting to, because when you can't be buddy buddy
Mhm.
with people and you have to expect them to produce something,
Yeah.
and it's like sometimes your standards are here and expectations are here, and then they're swimming around like here. And patience, that's the biggest thing that I've learned. And understanding that it's a process even when learning,
Mhm.
as as a teacher, it's like I'm learning, I have to understand where the students are starting from
Mhm.
and how to keep them engaged, especially when it comes to like making sure they have a foundation towards like the building blocks, so they can take on like a murate type of roles, or take on any type of like choreography that comes their way. So that's been the biggest adjustment, is like switching the lens of like, this isn't a master class. This is like you have to you have to get them from point A close to point B,
Mhm.
so you can still keep building. And that takes a lot of patience. So yeah.
I agree. Patience is huge. So I want to read a quote that you said, and then you can talk about it after. So a
Mhm.
quote that you said, I believe students will show you what they get. Give too much affirmation and you make them needy. Give too little affirmation and you make them disinterested and disengaged. However, introduce the concept that the student can become aware of their choices and affirm themselves, then you make them confident and ready for the work. During my time teaching at the University of Southern Mississippi, I've seen students fall into the trap of searching outside themselves for affirmation. I'm a huge advocate for students to seek guidance when needed. Still, I hold firm the idea that students need to know how to evaluate and understand their process and be able to work efficiently before reaching out for help. It's an instructor's job to promote a student's sense of responsibility, independence, self confidence, and sense of play. Talk to us, Professor Mba.
Yeah. Look, I'm all about because there are moments in my process that it's like, okay, I just learned the monologue. I need help on it. Like I and that's what I used to think about. Like I would go seek it instead of like, and this is when it comes into I'm seeking it so as I'm working, I can get affirmation on like, yes, that sounds good. Yes, this looks good as I'm working. When in reality, it's like it needs to start from like, how are you connecting to it and how are you feeling about it? Does this feel good? Do you feel like you're fighting, or you feel like you're playing the right tactics? You know, or do you feel like you're working moment to moment? Do you truly, are you truly connected to the perspective of the character you're playing?
Mhm.
Those types of questions start to they may like at first bog people down of like for a little bit to like get heavy with it, but that's what the script analysis and stuff is for.
Yeah.
That's what you do as an actor to prepare, because if you come into a rehearsal and you haven't read the script not once, you're already starting at zero. And we're trying to get you to 100 or beyond by the time of the show. But if you come into like the rehearsal and you've read through the script like 2 or 3 times,
Yeah.
you've got your character analysis laid out, you've thought about this moment, you've thought about that moment, you have choices of like, okay, I could play this really aggressively, or I could play this really subtly, or I could play this big, I could play this small. You now have like options and choices to choose from. So you're not just like throwing things to the wind, and that gives you a bigger foundation to like launch off of in terms of being prepared, because you're coming in day one now with all of that, and you're like starting at like 50 or 60%,
Much
and then by the time you get to the show you might be like shooting somewhere at 150 or 200,
right.
you know and that's what I really like to engage, that it's never going to be right the first time,
Yeah.
it's never going to be right the second time. It's never going to be perfect. Us striving for perfection is what's going to stop us from being great. And the more we lean into like, okay, I don't want to try it because I don't know if it's going to be right,
Mhm.
or I don't want to try it because I don't want to be wrong. Like the more we're holding ourselves back,
Yeah.
because I'm telling you, it's like we ever see some acting choices of like, I would have never thought to do that.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Guess what? They played around and found that. It didn't just, I mean, maybe it just came to them, but like in a retrospect, it was like that could not have been their first or second or third choice.
Yeah.
They had to think about it and then maybe go back to it, but they had to see how it compared to other things.
Right.
So,
And
and
I agree 100%, Professor Ember. My students, I tell them, like, I don't care what choice you go for. Just
Mhm.
try something. I can
Yeah,
help you if you try, but if you don't try, I have nothing to gauge. I can't,
exactly.
I can't guide you if you're not willing to make a choice. Who
Yep,
cares if the choice is the right choice or wrong? There is no right or wrong. You just have
yep,
to make a decision.
yep,
Do it. Whatever you go with, hey, go for it. Don't
yep.
only do it, fail and fail big. It's so much easier for you to go for something and then you go, okay, that didn't work. Let me tweak this and this. But if you
Mhm.
just keep tiptoeing, dipping I always say, don't dip your foot in the water. Just dive in. We'll figure it
Mm.
out later. Like, don't tiptoe with it because you limit yourself because you're trying to think. And a lot of times as artists, we try to think as we're doing the process.
Right.
Like you gonna act and direct yourself at the same time? Like that makes no sense.
Gotta pick one.
Teacher, what if you're critiquing yourself? Then what do you need me for? I'm supposed to help
Right.
you. So let me do my process. Your role is to go try to
Mhm.
explore, but I'll give them an exercise where you read it 7 different ways. Not
Yeah.
for you only to see, but like, oh, so there's not just one way to go about it. Because like you said, you'll have an actor and you're like, I didn't see that at all. I didn't even see this monologue as being comical. How did you find comedy in that? But
Right.
the person is willing to step out and say, let me try something different.
Hmm.
And there's so much more you can discover. And the
Yeah.
analogy I always give, an onion has many layers. Peel back the onion. Come on.
Yeah.
Someone, hey, peel this onion back. You're going surface. People
Yeah.
don't pay to see surface. You don't go watch HBO and Cinemax and go to the movies to see somebody just give a surface level performance. No.
No.
Even you wanted to be like, oh my gosh, how did he just touch my soul?
Okay.
So I appreciated you saying, like, yes, it's okay to seek that validation or affirmation, but
Mhm.
sometimes you gotta look within. Do
Yeah.
that for yourself. And I was like, wow, when I seen that quote, I'm like, I get it. And even the fact that if you talked about, if you keep giving them everything, then they're just gonna depend on you. So now
Yeah.
they're never gonna step outside or even trust. They're gonna
Mhm.
leave you and hey, Professor Mba, yeah, I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing right now.
Like, oh, don't call me.
You're supposed to be doing like
Right. Because and that's and I reflect back on that thought process, like back to Central again. It was like, Shabby could only take you but so far as you were ready to go. There's still like a responsibility to the actor because there's a lot of and what I'm learning as I'm teaching is that a lot of people depend on like direction and like not that a director should not direct, but like in terms of like the director shouldn't have to give you everything.
they want to be spoon fed. Keep it how
Yeah, that's the word. And it's like,
they
and
want
it's
you
and
to
it's
feed them every time. Like, dog, like at some point you gotta eat junk like
yeah,
so I
like
agree.
yeah, you got to do your own work because at that point, like I'm telling you, I've worked with directors and they love when actors have their own ideas, their own identity, and they bring something to the table.
Yes.
And that's what makes it a true collaboration because if I'm coming in and you're expecting like the director to like just tell you everything about your character and give you everything, I mean, okay, nice, great, but like I don't know, I'm a little bit more independent. We can have conversations about it. But like and this is what it talks about like when you're connected to the work that you do.
Yeah.
It's like you hold it differently, you
Yeah.
know? Cuz like the director's not going to know more about your character than you. That he or she they see the entire show and how they all fits.
Yeah.
But the ins and outs of like what's your character's like favorite breakfast?
They don't have time. They
Yeah,
have to do. Like
right.
that's your assignment you're supposed to do. So I
Yeah.
love that quote, man. Salute to you for I don't know when you said it or how you said it, but hey, I agree with it. Do your thing.
Mhm,
So you're talking about, you really getting into teaching and kind of really enjoying that now. Tell us
mhm.
though, what are some of the hardest parts of just about being a professor, is teaching? Because you're a performer, so now you're teaching. What's the hardest parts? Or some of
Yeah.
I say.
Um the on I think this is probably even in the public school level. The administrative work
Mhm.
in terms of like staff meetings, scheduling, planning, um, emails, so many trainings. Getting used to that is I'm still adjusting slightly. Um, Also finding my own artistic outlet right now
Okay.
is a struggle because right now I'm directing and choreographing working the musical and um it's like I'm receiving like a sense of duty and responsibility doing it and I'm enjoying what I'm doing but it's like as I'm working through it and I don't mind being transparent about this and as I'm working through it I'm just this is more of like a stressor than like a pleaser at the moment.
Right.
And this was something that I was hoping that could like maybe this is like what I could really like to do as an educator. And it's not so much. And really being honest with myself of like, I'm still giving like 110%, nonetheless, that's not affecting it. But it's like I'm finding an outlet that I can consistently do, and that's something that would have been performance, because my ideal week for me would be to teach, take a class, go to rehearsal, teach, take a class, go to rehearsal, and right now it's like I'm teaching, and then I'm like going to rehearsal, but I'm not being directed or choreographed on. I, I'm doing that for people. So I think the biggest thing is more so it's like I'm having to give so much of myself to other people that I'm in a search to find something that can replenish me in a sense,
Yeah,
which would have been performing, but
right.
you know, COVID. So
Definitely. So, I mean, you've done quite a few things, National Black Theater Festivals, you've done dance festivals, got some IMDb credits, you're a professional actor. I've seen you doing your thing. Throughout any of that, and I know this is very hard for us as artists. Have you had a moment where you sat back and said, I feel like I'm successful in what I'm doing? Because I know, like, for us, it's so hard for us to be like, yeah, good job. It's always like, nah, I haven't got there yet. Like, what's
Mhm.
that been for you? What's that experience been like for you?
Man, it's so weird. You know, you say that, and because we don't celebrate ourselves enough, I don't think.
No.
Like, and until we feel like the world celebrates us, and this is when it's like I think as artists sometimes it's like we want to make an impact on the world so much,
Talk about it.
and we want them to acknowledge it that we're working to make an impact.
Come on.
And until we get that type of satisfaction, it's like, oh, we haven't done anything yet. But it's like, you know, there's a lot of people, specifically like, at my age that like they're not teaching, they're not over a program
Yeah.
or teaching at a university yet, and people could see me and see like, oh wow, he's really successful. But for me, in my mind, I'm like, my mind's on the next thing. This isn't even halfway where I want to be right now, and yeah, and I think that we don't pat ourselves on the back enough. And I think there's a moment that we do have to sit back and be like, whew, yeah, I've done a lot, because I look back in 2020 and it's for some reason when I feel like I'm inadequate or I don't deserve this, it's like, well, Sheldon, I'm like, yeah. It's like, okay, so you were in the rehearsal process for like a 4-hour show that you learned like 85% of the lines for, and you're on like every other page.
Right.
Um, you just got your master's, you got employed like within like 2 to 3 weeks of officially getting your master's. I'm like, you got to relocate, you're able to like support yourself, you still have a couple of creative outlets. It's like you don't think you deserve to throw yourself a party to say great job,
Facts.
and I didn't list all that just to say like, oh, look at the stuff that I did, but no, but just to list it of like sometimes you just have to break it down like that for yourself.
No,
Y-
it's real. And first of all, before I even say anything, I'm gonna say I salute you, brother. You are successful, whether you want to pat yourself or not. From one artist to the next, you are successful and you are doing great things. To see you from being that freshman I used to pick with, and now you are a professor. Professor Mba. But to see the focus and the dedication and the time and the effort that went into your decisions to continue to pursue, it's amazing. And I've always been a firm believer that we don't give ourselves enough credit because we feel like we have to reach a certain plateau of what we deem as success to say, hey, you're doing something. But I
yeah.
always flip that and say, how many people do I know that want an opportunity that I have or the ability to do some of the things I can? Or wish they had the ability to hop on stage or do a film or whatever because
Mhm.
of they don't believe in themselves or whatever. So I had to learn that, dog, you got to celebrate all the wins and losses, right? Because those moments where things are like going like you like, I ain't really know what I want to do and I don't feel like I'm doing nothing. You can sit back and say, dog, I went here, I did this project, I did this. Like
Mhm.
those moments where you're like feeling uneasy about things, you can look back at those small wins to take you over to be like, no, I have done things.
Yep.
And those moments take you over, especially with a year like 2020, where everyone, even whether you were super successful and then everything got taken away or you were able to pivot, it was
Mhm.
a moment where you got to see, wow, what's really important. And so I say all that to say, like, celebrate those wins, man. And I know it sometimes people seem like it's superficial, like, oh, you try to pat yourself and give yourself credit, but did you not do the work? Did you not earn it? Did someone say, hey, Sheldon, here's a master's degree for you? Hey, Sheldon, here's a bachelor's degree for you. No
Mhm.
one did that for you. You had to earn everything, you know? You mentioned about having that humbling experience when you went to the festival, thinking like, ha, I have it. Like, sit down, be humble. But you were able to keep going after that. You could have stopped there and said, "You know what? Yeah, I'm good." Right? Because
Mhm.
you could look and saw someone so much better and like, "Yeah, nah, I ain't nowhere," and just stopped. But you
Yeah.
continue and you're still going. You're a professor now. You get to impact other lives, not only through your art, but also being a teaching artist. I mean, the effects that I have, you get to give someone something that means so much to you. It's so special and unique. And you have a completely different perspective because you are an actual artist that does it, like, and actively doing it. You know what I'm saying? So the
Mhm.
perspective is much different. So it is a very unique. So I say all that to say, man, don't cut yourself short, man. You've done it. You've earned it. Take that in. Take that in, my brother. Take it in. Take it all in. Take it in, man. That's just me being real with you. So before we go, though, I do want to talk about as it relates to just your art in 2020, COVID,
Mhm.
pandemic, racial injustice, social injustice, everything in the world going on.
Mhm.
As an artist, how was 2020? How did it affect you?
Ooh.
Because there's so many things happening throughout that year, and I feel like it was a moment where everyone was affected. It wasn't like, this doesn't really affect me. I feel in some way, shape, fashion, or form, everyone had some type of thing that changed. So as an artist for you, um, what was the effects for you?
I think it made my current position, as a professor and as a professional, that much more significant
Mm,
to me. Um, and because now I'm in a position that I can push certain dialogue and certain conversations to the powers that be in order to, you know, um, to impact like, I mean, I make it seem like, I'm not in my 20s, but like, to like impact the youth that's like coming up in
mhm,
the sense of people. I felt like 2020 was the year that we lost all sense of community and all sense of communication.
mm,
And as in, anything anybody said, if it didn't fit in one vein, was just like you're either canceled or you're praised, and it was like a 50-50.
right.
And I'm all about like, 2020 has taught me, I'm all about like, where's the disconnect?
Mm,
Where's the disconnect happening on like why like why Black Lives Matter is a thing, and why some people think that, oh, this is like an this is a against America group, and why some people think this is actually a for America group. Like, what's the disconnect? Because 2020 also has taught me that people research and look up things to prove themselves right, never to really search for like what's the actual truth, or like what's the actual like issue that's going on.
right,
And and then even with the political climate and whatnot, and then moving from the East Coast to like the Midwest, it's been a culture shock, because I've come in contact with a lot of people that are um like, I'll say, I can go between the change of like Republicans or like Trump supporters
right,
in a sense, um, because some people with the Republican Party, don't support Trump, but they just want some of the things that's, that keeps their lives and stuff intact. It's like they're good people and people are just trying to protect their way of life.
Mhm.
And, you know, I'm not a Trump supporter. There's a thing that's like all I'm trying to do too is protect my way of life.
Mhm.
And I think there's a sense of humility that has to kind of like overtake you at that moment of like, you know, we're all trying to do our best to make sure that we have a future here.
Mhm.
We're all trying to do our best to make sure that we have a voice here that's being heard.
Right.
Um, and I think the more that we keep trying to say that our problems or our issues or our rights or our perspective is more important than somebody else's, the
Mhm.
more conflict that we actually do start to have.
Okay.
So that's kind of how it's affected me. I think more as a teaching artist than
Mhm.
as like a performing artist. Um, because now it's like I can bring that information to like my students and bring that information to like my colleagues to hopefully, I can't change people overnight, but like it can always start the conversation
Right.
because I don't want you to just agree with me just because I think it's the right thing.
Mhm.
I want you to agree with me or wait, I want you to agree with me because you actually see where I'm coming from and you understand it. I don't want it to just to be to quell a fire. You know what I mean? I want it to be like really rooted because there's work that goes behind it.
Sure.
As a performing artist,
Yeah.
um, whoo, you got to make your own stuff if you want to do it. I tell you, I graduated. I was like, look, I was sending stuff out to regional companies and theaters and like all these places. I was like, look, you guys hire me. You guys need me. I need you because you have a job and you have clout and stuff.
Right.
Like, hire me, like, pick me up. And, you can't wait for all of your opportunities. Like this whole thing on TikTok with Ratatouille the musical. I'm like, whoever started that didn't wait for their wait for somebody to be like, hey, you should do this. I can pay you for it. No, and like more important, like with what you're doing, Jay Weeks, and what like a lot of my other colleagues, like I can start listing people like crazy. Like they just started creating their own stuff, their own platform,
Yeah.
and after 2020 is done, which it is done, but like as we move forward, they have something to show for it that can like actually propel them even further into their career of choice. So yeah. So it's affected me like as an educator of like, okay, I have to be a voice and I have to be an ear for my students and for my colleagues. And then as an artist, it's like, okay, I still have to find something that I can do that brings me joy, which I'm still on the search for. So
No, I agree, man. With 2020, it really allows you to see what's really important to me in my life.
Mhm.
Luckily for me, with J Reese Entertainment, I've had it for maybe 10 years this year, actually. And I've always made my own opportunities because I figured what better way to have a platform to say, hey, okay, this opportunity's not coming. Well, let me make my own. And I,
Right.
enjoy that. So I appreciate the people now seeing like, why am I waiting? I can write, I can direct, I know other people that had work that can do things. So I
Mhm.
like that it is uniting us to say, hey man, you still got that script you had? Everyone is kind of looking like, you know what,
Yeah.
I do kind of have these resources already. But now, like you said, it's just putting all those things together. So, man, as we come to a close, I always like to take this last moment to give it back to the artist that I'm interviewing.
Mhm.
What is it that you want people to know about Professor Mba, as well as what is it that you want to leave the people with? This is your moment to talk directly to the people because there may be artists watching, there may be aspiring artists, there may be people who don't know about you, or even someone looking to get into the arts industry or entertainment industry.
Mhm.
So I'll give you this opportunity. I'll step back and let you do your thing, man. Go ahead. Stage is yours.
Ah, hello, people. Um, one thing that I'd like to be known for is that I'm these might all mean the same thing. Um, that I am a firm believer that, hard work trumps talent every time. Um, if you're passionate about something, go for it. Don't, you know, don't second guess, don't try to fluff the stuff around it like, oh, I'm going to be a performer, but then I want to own my own company because I'm a business person so I can make money. Like, no, don't do it for the money. The money will come. Follow what it is that you love to do, and then everything else will be provided for you. And I think it's a big leap of faith and a lot of trust that you have to put in yourself. um I'm trying to think of other words. Persistency, consistency, and determination will be your best friends. Stick with it, keep yourself on a schedule, and always have a goal in mind. That's something that I started towards the end of 2020, and I'm going into 2021. um, read. Take some time away from the screen. I feel like I'm talking to my students now. Um, take some time away from the screen. I'm telling you, there's a lot of stuff that's happened. We can get into that comparison game, scrolling on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, or whatever, and then you're in a funk before the day even starts. So, be mindful how you start off your day. I really feel like I'm talking to like students, but I love this. This is what I love to do. I love to perform. I love to teach. I love to create. I love to overall inspire. And I really hope that when people see my work or byproducts of my work, that they feel motivated to give their dreams an honest shot as well.
Shout out to you, Professor Mba. I told you before, man, I respect you, obviously, because you're on the show. But I appreciate you, talking honestly and freely about your art, what it means to you, and just making a difference, man. The work that you're doing, great work. You're so focused, you're dedicated, you're willing to give back, and you're open to opportunities. So from one artist to the next, I salute you, brother. Continue to keep grinding, keep striving. And more importantly, man, thank you for taking upon my invitation to come on the James Entertainment Presents. Hey, the artist prepares. I can't say it enough. As I always say, I know dope people who do dope things, and I want this opportunity for other people to see just how dope the people I know are. So thank you, my brother, for coming on the show, man. It's been an honor and a privilege to get to know you and your process and how you go about it. So I thank you so much, my brother.
Hey, thank you. Thank you for having me. Anytime, man.
Man, we're definitely like I said, we appreciate you being on. We appreciate everyone for tuning in and learning all about Professor Mba. We'll catch y'all next week, but remember to always support us. Catch y'all next week.